All right. Nobody won a sketchy AF Powerball, but do not worry. We're going to help everybody here watching today win some money because we're going to dish out some best bets and DFS plays around the NFL, golf, hockey. But you know what? First things first. Howard, let's bring him in. Sir!
Hey, it's good to see you.
I want to shake your hand. Great to
you.
see you, Jared
Good to see you.
Carabas. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it still the morning? Still the morning.
It certainly is. This show starts at 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Yes, for sure.
All the time.
Yep, every time.
What will you do with your life now that baseball is over?
I am going to take a vacation for the first time in 6 years.
Hell yeah, brother. Where are you going?
Austin, Texas. People are like, why wouldn't you go to the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you go to Aruba? One of my friends lives in Austin, so he moved down there a couple years ago. I was like, oh, come see you. Why not? Got an Airbnb. It's got a jacuzzi. I'll FaceTime you from the jacuzzi.
I will put $10 on it right now. This guy does not FaceTime me.
Oh, the
in the
second
jacuzzi.
that I get into the jacuzzi, I'm FaceTiming you.
Okay, hell yeah. That's an easy answer for me. Astros claimed their first post-scandal championship. What was your favorite World Series moment here?
Ooh, I think it's the Yordan Alvarez home run.
Yep.
I think, a lot of people are comparing Yordan to David Ortiz, and he hadn't had a big hit, or at least like that, since the Mariners series. So I think it's.
We're looking at Steve Buchanan off camera once again. He's always here cruising
I
on us.
love Stevie B lurking in the shadows. But Yordan Alvarez hitting that home run was a big moment and sealed the World Series, and I'm happy for the Houston Astros organization.
Yeah, do they deserve the dynasty title? What do you think? Been in 4 of the last 6. They have a couple titles, one of them under the shadow of sign stealing.
Yeah, I feel like just getting to the ALCS 6 years in a row is kind of a dynasty in its own right. It's very hard to obviously win the World Series. We haven't had back-to-back champions since the Yankees in the 90s, so I don't know that I would slap a dynasty on it until they get the third one. I feel like anytime you talk about a dynasty, it's at least 3. But there's no rule as to what a dynasty can be. If someone were to call the Astros a dynasty, I don't think I would push back too hard on it, but I think they need that third one.
All right, who gets back there first, Philly or Houston, real quick?
Houston.
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Okay.
The Phillies, it was a nice story. They got
was
hot
awesome.
at the right time. They were
it.
a 6 seed. They underachieved. They were a 6 seed, but they weren't built as a 6 seed team. I think Dave Dombrowski's going to spend a lot of money this offseason. Maybe it's money that we don't want to be allocated to certain people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want Xander Bogaerts to get that money. That would be
get
great. But yeah, I think Houston is the safe bet. They're such a well-rounded baseball team that it wouldn't surprise me if they went back and won it again next year.
All right, now that the season is over, before you take off on this tropical vacation in Austin, Texas, let's dish out some 2022 MLB yearbook superlatives here.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Class couple, which means which player on a new team made the biggest impact this season?
I wrote these down. Can I check my notes?
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
go ahead.
Let me check my
That's
notes because
perfectly
I
fine.
did go through these. Okay, where did I go here? Oh, Kyle Schwarber.
Yes, I knew it. I knew you were going to go there.
Duh, Kyle Schwarber. This dude goes to the National League, or back to the National League with the Phillies. They make it to the World Series. He leads the National League in home runs. If it wasn't for Judge having a historic season, probably leads the majors in home runs. And he had, his 3rd leadoff home run in postseason history, ties a major league record. And I think he completed the cycle. When he hit a home run in the World Series, which he hit 2, I think, 3, 2, he has now homered in every single playoff series that they have. AL wild card, NL wild card, division series, championship series, and the World Series.
And he's from Waltham. Who doesn't love that?
Yeah.
Class clown, a guy who just wrapped up his first season with a new team, who underdelivered and fell wicked short of expectations.
Javi Baez. That was terrible. That might go down as one of the worst contracts of all time. Hit 238, 671 OPS with the Tigers. They gave him a bunch of money. I don't think that the expectations were super high, where it was hey, we're going to sign Javi Baez and he's going to take the Tigers back to the promised land. But for the production that they got, it was very, very bad for the dollars allocated.
Most likely to succeed. So here we're looking at next year. So which team overperformed this year and will be in the mix to win a World Series next year? Could you go Phillies again?
I'm going to Seattle Mariners, Steve.
Yeah,
I'm going to Seattle Mariners.
Look at him showing life in the dark
Seattle
corner
Mariners.
of the studio.
Yeah, Seattle Mariners. I feel like they're a team that they're still going to. They just spent money on Julio Rodriguez. So you know that they've got it. There's a pretty big shortstop free agent class. I don't think that Bogaerts ends up there, but I think it'd be really interesting if the Mariners just splurged on a Trey Turner.
Oh.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of splurging this offseason.
Could be.
Big splurge guy. Most likely to be the 2022 Mets. So which team will absolutely kick some ass during the regular season before being an absolute disappointment? And it could also be the 2023 Mets.
That's kind of where I was going with that.
Okay.
Like I read that one and I was like, it's kind of too early to tell.
Yeah.
Like it's the first week in November. I have no idea what the teams are going to look like next
It's just
year.
their MO though, man.
I mean, the Mets have the most likely chance to be the Mets. Like they just do. There's something in the DNA. They won 101 games and they still somehow blew it. I don't know. It's crazy to me, but I feel bad for them. I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah.
Like I want the Mets to do well. It'd be cool to see they have great fans. Like I've been there. The fans are super cool on Twitter.
They've dealt with pain a lot too.
A lot of pain. But for some reason, there's just something in the water in Queens where the Mets become the Mets.
Cohen's going to spend more money this offseason.
Even more, yeah. Already brought back Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
Like first day after the World Series, boom, 5-year deal,
True.
$102 million, bring back our closer. Yeah, he's not done.
All right, we'll wrap up superlatives with this. Best hair. Who had the best lettuce in the show in 2022? It's got to be
The
the
reigning, defending, undisputed best hair in baseball,
Yeah.
Dansby Swanson.
Ow!
It's a no-brainer. Every time I say Dansby Swanson has the best hair in baseball, I always get people being like, "Oh, what about Noah Syndergaard? What about Bo Bichette? What about like you know?"
I mean, there's a lot of guys with good heads of hair in Major League
So the thing is, there's a lot of guys with longer hair. Yeah, but we're not asking who has the longest hair. We're asking who has the best hair.
Yep.
Just because you have long hair does not mean you have the best hair. There's a lot like Brandon Marsh. Just was in the World Series.
Yep.
Okay, really long hair. Would you call it the best hair? No, I wouldn't. I would say Dansby Swanson.
I think the Phillies as a team has the best head of hair as a team.
I wish Bryce Harper would
They all
stick
have been
with
on
it.
here saying that exact same thing. So we got the partnership with the Phillies. Done of exclusive interviews with them. They're all like, we have the best hair.
Yeah. So Bryce Harper can that's
he's
why
the
it's
captain
cool.
of the club.
But that's why Bryce Harper's so cool is because he can have the best hair if he chose to, but he just changes his hairstyle all the time. It's like Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Like Justin Bieber has amazing hair, and he'll just like either like do dreadlocks or he'll just like go like wiffle. Dude, you could if you wanted to
rough.
have the best hair in the world, and like you're that hot, you're that on top that you're like, I can make myself look ugly and everyone still wants me. That's cool.
Well, speaking of Dansby Swanson, he's part of this absolutely loaded free agent class. So let's see where you were going to predict where some of them land, and we're going to start here with Aaron Judge.
Ooh.
Where do you think Aaron Judge lands? And by the way, on the DK Sportsbook, we have an Aaron Judge special. The Yankees right here, Jared, they are the favorites to keep Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
But then the Giants, the Dodgers, the Red Sox at plus 1,600. Where do you think he goes?
So my gut tells me that he stays with the Yankees, but I think if he's going to do that, he's going to have to turn down a larger deal somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't. If he stays in New York, it's going to be because of his character traits. He wants to win a he feels like winning a championship in New York means more than winning a championship with the Giants. But I mean, the Giants have straight up told you, we're going to be the top bidder for Aaron Judge, which I believe. Like the Yankees had their chance to pay this guy. They didn't pony up, and he goes out there and earns whatever he's going to get, somewhere in the 3s instead of the 2s. But some of the other factors that I'm looking at, he can go home. He can go back to the West Coast, whether it's the Dodgers, whether it's the Giants. Be close to your family. I mean, like, look at, like, his mom was following him around for, like, the whole home run chase. Like,
I love that.
Like, the only family that was following around Mark McGwire was the Marises, those dorks. Like, like you could tell that, like, Aaron Judge's family is, like, that's a big factor.
Aaron Judge.
Yeah, exactly.
Creeps.
Yeah. So, I can't.
Okay.
I'm best friends with Judge, but I don't know.
I know that.
He won't tell me. He won't tell me.
So right now you're saying he stays there. What about Jacob deGrom, another guy who's rumored to potentially end up just sticking around?
There's not even, like, I was looking at, like, someone, like, The Athletic wrote something being like, oh, like, here are the teams that could be landing spots for Jacob deGrom. The team that I think he's signing with wasn't even on that list. He's going to the Texas Rangers.
You think so?
Yes, I do.
Why? Why the Rangers?
I can't tell you why, but, like.
That sounds like, so you telling me you can't tell me why Jacob deGrom is going to the Rangers tells me that you know why he's going to the Rangers.
Yeah.
I trust you.
I'll tell you off the air.
All right. I love that.
Yeah.
And will I be allowed to tweet that information?
Maybe. Yeah, just don't let me see it.
Okay, sounds good. Carlos Correa, which, by the way, I love the one tweet I think you pushed out this past weekend. He was like interviewing like the guys on the Astros. Like,
Well, he was interviewing Jeremy Pena, who was his actual replacement.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So where's Correa going to end up?
So I think he's going to go to the Dodgers, and you'll see why later, because I think if the Dodgers miss out on Judge, if he stays in New York or goes to the Giants, and then later on we can just skip to this one, I think Trey Turner is going to go to the Mariners.
Woo! Whoa, damn, Steve,
again! I got Trey Turner to the Mariners, so that leaves the Dodgers with some money to spend. And if you're missing out on Trey Turner, then I think it would make sense for you to go spend some money on Carlos Correa.
What does Justin Verlander do?
I think he stays. Yeah, I think Verlander stays. At this point, he's probably going to win the Cy Young Award. He had an excellent season. He talked about
finally got a World Series victory too.
Yeah, that was huge. That was huge. But I mean, he's won his individual awards. He's won his World Series titles. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think at this point, unless he were to really have a change of heart and want to go back to Detroit or something to mentor those guys and finish where it started, I can't. He just has too much of a compete gene where he's going to want to be with a contender. Maybe the Yankees pony, because at this point, is it even about money? Wouldn't you want to finish, I guess, where you won your first and only championships? I don't know. I think he stays in Houston.
Xander Bogaerts right now. This one may sting a little bit, but be honest. Answer with your head, not your heart right now. Xander Bogaerts, as a free agent, will he be back in Boston? Or is your boy, Dombrowski, going to pull him over to the city of brotherly love?
I think it depends on when I'm being asked the question. Right now, I still say Red Sox. You asked me this question on December 7th, maybe I'm not saying Red Sox anymore.
I will say this, John Henry selling Liverpool, so he has money to keep Xander Bogaerts and sign Rafael Devers to an extension.
Yeah, I think he wants the Washington football team as well. So, I think if you were to ask me right now, the Red Sox would be the favorite to sign Bogaerts. But again, the longer it goes, the less likely it is that he ends up back in Boston. I think the longer it plays out, the more it could be a team like the Phillies or even the Mariners or the Braves. There's so many rotating parts because a lot of the teams that are losing their shortstops, they have money to spend. So, if the Braves,
it's a big shortstop offseason, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it really is.
It's the strongest position. I'm not 100% sure. I'm asking you
because
you're
a
professional.
Yeah. I think if you like a team like the Braves don't bring back Dansby Swanson, they could be in the mix on Bogaerts.
Carlos Rodon. Come on.
See, I think the Red Sox could be in on Rodon. That's the type of guy that they need to sign.
Giants, Cardinals thrown out there as options.
That's the type of guy that they would have to sign. But, at the end of the day, if Jacob deGrom signs with the Braves or the Rangers, I think, then the Mets would be another great fit for Rodon because, again, they have the money. You can't just lose a Jacob deGrom and then keep the train moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
So
they'll be looking for a long-term deal this offseason.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so now Dansby Swanson.
Yeah.
Let's go. Dude with the best head of hair in baseball.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay just based on, I guess, how competitive it's going to be for those other shortstops. I think, the musical chairs are going to fill up pretty quickly, and I think he wants to stay there. That's home for him. He's from there. And just the Braves have this not long, but a recent history of locking up core players, and he's absolutely one of them.
Except Freddie Freeman.
That too, but that's a little weird one. But their infield is locked up. If they lock up Dansby Swanson, they will have their entire infield in team control for the next 5-6 years, whatever it is, which is unprecedented to have your entire infield. So I think that they want him back. I think he wants to be back. I think that they'll figure something out.
Last one here, Clayton Kershaw.
I think he stays too. I know that there are rumors about him going to the Texas Rangers as well.
Wait, so the Rangers I knew they spent ass ton of money last
Half a
offseason.
billion.
They weren't expected to still compete this year, but you're saying they're going all in again in second straight offseason.
Yeah. I think that they will 1,000% be in on guys, a lot of our guys, like Rich Hill, Nathan Eovaldi, Michael Wacha, and then Jacob. Yeah, they're going to be in.
Rich Hill's like 45.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell's going on? He looks like he hasn't slept in 20 years.
Right, but yeah, they're going to be in on all types of arms.
And Kershaw, hometown, right? Over there,
Yeah.
the Dallas area, the
Yeah,
Texas Rangers.
same with Eovaldi. You know,
I know he spends a lot of time
with,
there now.
with Wacha.
Yeah. Okay.
Texas boys. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to just, come on home. Come on
All
home,
right.
Texas
Yeah.
Rangers.
Well, hell, while you're in Austin, tell them all we say hello.
I will. Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll tell you hello because I'll be FaceTiming you from the jacuzzi.
And I will screen grab that conversation and tweet it out for everybody to see.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here.
And hopefully you come back in the off season. Get some updates.
If you'll have me, I would love to.
Yep.
I would love to be here.
We love you, baby.
Love you too.
All right, everybody. Coming up next, we got a battle of division leaders, elite wide receivers. It's the only game on the damn schedule in Week 10 that pairs up two teams with winning records. Who to pay up for in your lineups? That's right, another Millie Maker available on DraftKings right after this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Oh, my God. Jared's still here. Just kidding. What's up, Steve Buchanan?
I'm not nearly as handsome.
Yes, you are. Don't do that to yourself. So we have you here for some NFL price check. We also have Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich on the horn with us right now. Good morning, gentlemen. Before we get into price check and we start discovering who your favorite plays are at each position, I want to go to last night real quick. Last night we wrapped up Week 9. Okay, wrapped up Week 9 with the Ravens beating the Saints. Jeff, I know it's a bad Saints team, but Lamar without Bateman, Andrews, Edwards was able to find a way to do his thing. It was impressive, was it not?
I don't know. I mean, is anything the Ravens are a great regular season team. I'm just waiting for the Ravens to actually do something to note in the playoffs. They do this every year. People get a little bit hyped on them. They beat some bad teams. They look good on offense, and then they just get smoked in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Look, I don't really want to talk about this game because I took the Saints. I put my trust in Andy Dalton like a complete moron. But yes, the Ravens got it done despite them relying on third-string wide receivers and running backs. That's what Greg Roman's offense does. They just move the ball with Lamar Jackson. It's very efficient. I still don't know if this Ravens team can beat anyone in the AFC. You know, the Bills, the Chiefs. I don't know how you can pick them. So it's a good regular season win, but I think we're all just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop here for the Ravens because once it gets to playoff time, it's going to be hard for me to pick them against any of those elite AFC teams.
Steve, I know we texted about it, but it couldn't be more clear that Lamar Jackson was playing against somebody with Devin Duvernay in fantasy because he straight up ignored the best receiver on the damn field all night.
I mean, it's almost like he wanted to get Deshaun Jackson involved more. Like he wanted Deshaun Jackson to be his number one guy.
He's 50 years old. Stop throwing him the damn football.
But truly, to be fair, I mean, both teams were really sloppy on both ends of the ball. It was a pretty gross game overall, but that's the kind of the name of the game with these primetime games. Like it should be like primetime slop. I think that's what we really need to rename it at this point.
You knew it was going to be like that last night, Pierce. Primetime, Andy Dalton. I mean, come on. What was your biggest takeaway last night?
That all 4 of my bets hit.
Yeah!
I predicted the Dalton interception. I predicted the cover. I predicted the Kenyon Drake over. I predicted the Lamar Jackson over. Thank you. You're welcome.
Hell yeah, brother. Absolutely. That's better than winning Powerball, Pierce. Good stuff. Let's turn our attention to Week 10. Again, the NFL schedule features one matchup between teams with winning records. Yeah! That's the Bills and the Vikings. Let's price check salaries on the board. Buke, start me with quarterback. Is there a quarterback here who really stands out among the rest?
It's actually kind of an ugly quarterback slate overall. Like I feel like there aren't a ton.
We're just main slate because you also have like the Germany game, which pairs up the Seahawks and Geno Smith and Tampa Bay.
I don't know what Pierce is going to do. He's not going to be able to talk about the Seahawks in this.
Oh, he'll find a way.
I will. Yeah.
He'll remind us that he bet like back in 2021, he bet like the Seahawks over 2.5 wins or something. Don't worry, he'll remind us.
Yep,
does every week.
But I'm just going right back to Justin Fields. He finally got the price adjustment that we all knew it was going to come. He's now at 6,500, but 45 DraftKings fantasy points last week with only a 60% completion percentage and 123 passing yards. That's just how deadly he's been on the ground. 178 rushing yards and a rushing TD. I mean, the Lions secondary is so poor that Aaron Rodgers, without a bona fide wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, 19, whatever you want to go to, still was just under 300 yards, even despite having 3 interceptions. That secondary, that defense overall is so incredibly poor. What do you think Justin Fields is going to do? Because something has been unlocked in this man really over the past month or so. So the price is adjusted accordingly. I still think it's too cheap.
Damn, man, $6,500, right? Okay, who do you like, Jeff? Quarterback under center.
Yeah, it is an ugly week for quarterback. I mean, Steve's not wrong, and I'm just going to pay up for Patrick Mahomes here. I think that might just be the easiest thing to do. I do think that Jacksonville is going to be able to move the ball a little bit on the ground. This is an offense that has done that over the last couple of games, and if we get that out of Jacksonville, then we're going to get Patrick Mahomes dropping back 30 to 35 times. And that's a really good situation. So I think Patrick Mahomes at home, 7,900. We've seen Kadarius Toney now start to get involved. I think that the Chiefs really do pick it up here. And I think that Jacksonville at least pushes them to have to put up 30 points. I'm not going to pick Jacksonville. Sorry, Emerson. But I do think that just paying up for Patrick Mahomes on the slate might be different. People are going to be looking to pay down for Justin Fields. Tua at 6,700. I think going to be a very popular target as well. But I don't think people are going to be willing just to spend up. And I think that might be the play here. Again, just going with that Chiefs stacks, we know what we're getting out of Mahomes, and it's really not that bad a matchup.
Yeah, second highest salary on the board there in the quarterbacks department. Pierce, who was your signal caller?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Steve here. Mahomes is in a fine spot. Tua is looking good, but he just doesn't run the ball that much. Justin Fields, they have rearranged this offense. They're calling in running plays. They're doing RPOs. They're rolling him out. The rushing yards are there. The matchup is there. He's been able to throw the deep pass throughout his career. Hasn't been very long, but he's never really had a deep threat. He now has that in Chase Claypool. We saw him try to go down the field several times last week. That's going to happen. That's going to keep progressing. Again, you can't ignore this matchup. 178 yards, like Steve mentioned, on the ground. This is the designed offense. They're just going to keep letting him run. You just can't avoid that floor at this price.
Yeah, Steve, he absolutely put on a clinic, as you mentioned earlier. And he should do the same against the Lions defense. I know that played well against Green Bay, but still allows the 4th most DraftKings points per game to quarterbacks, which is north of 22 this season. 22 a game this season. Running backs department, Jeff, your boy Travis Etienne is north of $7,000 for the first time. And I know you said you expect the Jags to be able to move the ball against the Chiefs. So what do you say?
I say he's still too cheap, Emerson. 7,100, sign me up. 25 touches average over the last 2 games. This dude's not coming off the field. He's got an over 80% snap rate. And look, this is exactly how the Jags are going to move the ball and how they're going to put Patrick Mahomes in a lot of dropbacks. I like pairing Mahomes with Etienne on the other side because what have the Chiefs done over the last 2 weeks? They've allowed 5 yards per carry on the ground. The rush defense is starting to regress. They allowed 6 yards to Derrick Henry and company last week against the Tennessee Titans. I think Travis Etienne is probably a better running back than Derrick Henry at this point. The Jags might be a better rushing team. So this is a good situation. I think this is sneaky as well. People are going to look at this and say, oh, well, the Jags, they're huge underdogs. We can't pay up $7,000. This is a main carry running back, a guy who's basically getting bell cow workload. There's no competition for Travis Etienne at this point. And I think that the matchup is far better than people realize. I do expect the Jags to potentially at least cover in this game. So yes, 7,100. Look, until he gets up 75, 8K, take the carries, take the volume with Travis Etienne. This is going to be every week until we get too expensive.
It's a perplexing matchup here, Steve, because the Chiefs only give up 102 rushing yards per game, which is the 5th fewest.
Yeah.
However, they allow the 4th most DraftKings points per game to running backs, which is around 28 a week. So who is your running back here?
Well, it's funny because, I was actually kind of thinking the same that Jeff was.
I love that.
But I let our analysts play up to their strengths, so I knew that's where he was going to go. I'm going with Saquon Barkley, going up against this Houston, whatever you want to call it, because it's not defense, all right? But in a similar matchup against the Bears not too long ago, he had 146 rushing yards on 31 carries. Now he gets literally the worst run defense in the league in the Houston Texans. They are allowing, sit down for this if you're not already, whatever you're doing, just sit down. They're allowing an average of 154 rushing yards per game. Now you might be saying, Steve, Derrick Henry just went for over 200 alone. So that obviously that inflates that number. Fine. If you want to take Derrick Henry's number out of there, it's down to a paltry 126 rushing yards per game. Saquon Barkley is in an absolute smash spot this week. He's averaging 3.2 yards per carry after contact. That is one of the best in the league. And I bring that up because the Texans can't tackle to begin with. So what do you think he's going to do with this contact that they're going to be giving him in this game? He's the highest priced running back. I don't give a you-know-what. I'm putting Barkley in my lineup at running back for this week.
Top of the board, $8,600. Pierce Dietrich, playing to your strength, would be talking about Kenneth Walker right now. But the Seahawks, again, 9:30 in the morning off the main slate. So who is your running back?
I'm going to go a little bit cheap and go with Jeff Wilson, 9 carries last week for 51 yards. And that's with what? 1 day of practice. He clearly has pretty strong rapport with Mike McDaniel. I know we look at the Miami team, we see a dynamic passing game. We also have Mostert there, but with just a day of practice, he had pretty much all of the second half carries. I think he's going to be a 60-40 split. The majority of the carries will go to him. They still like to run the ball. McDaniel does pass, but this is an explosive offense. He's very affordable. Yeah, you do worry. What if they pass too much? What if Mostert gets the carries? But he's very cheap, high upside. It's a very productive offense. And in a matchup with a Browns defense that's near the bottom, if not the worst, against the run.
Okay, so we teased this. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Stephon Diggs, 2 of the best wide receivers out there, meeting in the best game of the week in Week 10. Jeff, is wide receiver, is this going to be a position where you got to pay up this week?
Yeah, I do think it is, actually. I think a lot of people will choose to do that too. But I still like the price on Amon-Ra St. Brown at 6,900. I know I liked him last week and 4 catches on 9 targets. But we're back, we got a better matchup here, quite frankly. I mean, the Chicago secondary, it's just not great. 4 touchdowns allowed to the wide receiver position over the last few games. You look at what the Miami wide receivers did, pretty much had their way with the secondary as well. And I think that this is just a different Chicago team right now because they're going to be putting up points. I think Justin Fields, as the guys alluded to when we were talking about the quarterback position, I think Darnell Mooney could get off in this game on the other side as well. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think you've got a position where this guy's going to be a lot more efficient against the secondary, potentially push for 10 to 12 targets. And it sounds strange, but I think we're probably going to get a shootout here in Chicago if the weather holds up. So, check the weather, but I don't have any problem going back one more week to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, they need a factor in the red zone there, especially now without T.J. Hawkinson. Pierce, what's the move at wide receiver?
Amari Cooper, every week we've got to look at the Miami game and consider who we're going to run it back with. Miami's defense, especially their secondary, has been dealing with injuries all season. The unit has not gelled, and we saw last week and basically every week, Miami scores a bunch of points, but they also allow a bunch of points. Cooper's going to be that guy you're going to want to go to. The Browns with Chubb, you're going to get 8 guys in the box. That means Cooper's not really dealing with bracket coverage. And then you just look at what the Dolphins allow: yards, air yards, yards to get after the catch. They're not getting any pressure on the quarterback whatsoever. So you can definitely get the opportunity to hit some big plays with Cooper. And we've seen Brissett go downfield quite often to Cooper.
And last time we saw him on the field, he posted 131 receiving yards, north of 26 DraftKings points against the Bengals on Halloween night. You looked disgruntled there for a second when he answered Amari Cooper, because I feel like that is also your wide receiver.
It's exactly where I was going. It's 6,500. It's just such a good price for someone that's really kind of been forgotten about when it comes to fantasy football. And this was the de facto #1, really, with the Cowboys for years. Now he's with the Browns, and Jacoby Brissett has been, I think, a lot better than advertised. Like he's not been the answer there, but he's
keeping him in there
enough.
until Deshaun Watson comes back.
He's been doing enough, but I mean, Cooper lines up all over the field, almost both sides of the field equally. His average, you're too close, back up a little bit. His average distance of target is at 13.6, and he's seen 12 targets of at least 20 yards or more. So if they need to go downfield too, he's been the guy that they've been going to. In this matchup, it's really too good to be true here at 6,500. That's a good distance. You stay around there.
And the Dolphins defense allowing 10th most DraftKings points per game to wide receivers. Last position we'll hit on here, tight ends. Steven, I'll let you go first.
A lot of people got burned by this guy last week. I think you go right back to Evan Ingram.
Oh, my God.
No.
No, he's got a little bit of back injury.
Well, see, that was the thing.
Catch.
That was the thing. There was no other reason. He's not a fraud.
Done with him.
He was your guy 48 hours ago.
He
now
was my guy in 5 lineups last week.
Right.
Yeah.
But truly, everyone got burned by him last week because he's been such a focal point of this Jaguars offense, and then he ends with 1.8 DraftKings fantasy points when all the attention is on him. Now that all the attention is going to be going away from him, but as you mentioned, had that back injury. He was pointing to his back going, I'm getting old. I got to go sit down for a little while. And he basically did that for that game. But now he's in a great game environment going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are allowing over 14 points per game to the tight end position, 5 touchdowns allowed. This is the get-right spot for Evan Ingram. He's not going to continue to see those lack of targets again. If he's good to go, if he's off the injury list, 3,300, this is a great comeback spot for him.
How far down the board you going at tight end, Jeff?
$200.
Going down, this one's easy for me. I mean, I'm going down to 3,400 to the Denver Broncos and Greg Dulcich at 3,400, or as I like to call him, the next Rob Gronkowski. Yes, I know you've heard that term a million times before. 14 targets over his last 2 games. But, I mean, this guy looks legit. I mean, this has been a little bit of a comeback story for Russell Wilson with Dulcich in the lineup, and we have a very, very positive matchup here. I mean, the Tennessee Titans, what they don't do well is cover really anything with their secondary. 4th most fantasy points allowed, the tight end position, 5th most receptions allowed to the tight end position. Denver coming off a bye. Russ should at least be healthier, so maybe he'll be able to complete like 55% of his passes instead of 50. But this is just a big target for Denver. It's something they've sorely lacked. I think that you're going to see this guy continue to get strong targeting, and in weak matchups here at 3,400, and in a couple weeks, you will see Dulcich, progress to where he's well over 4K on DraftKings.
Every game that he has played in this season, which has been just 3, he has scored double-digit fantasy points. All right, Pierce Dietrich, bring us home, dude.
Tyler Higbee, now full disclosure, he's just a placeholder until I can find an obscure minimum price tight end after the injury reports come out. But for now, he's in a pretty good spot. The Cardinals have allowed the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends. He's 4th in targets. Cardinals also blitz nearly more than any other team. You put pressure on Matt Stafford, he's going to check down to the intermediate short route. So Higbee should get plenty of targets this week.
All right, dudes, y'all's job here is done because we have 11 games on the NHL slate tonight. Who to pay up for? About that Connor McDavid guy. I hear he's pretty good at sticky puck. Let's talk with Paul and Anna after this.
I'll join too.
Okay, please do.
Sup to my sup ducks and Sly Crocs. Shrug here to bring you Week 9's winning lineups. Let's start off with the Sly Crocs League. We had our contest winners winning 3 Sup Ducks NFTs and $3,000 to first place. The winning lineup here had Tua, Joe Mixon going off with that 58 fantasy points, Tyreek Hill stacked with Tua, Jalen Waddle double stacked with Tua, and then Travis Etienne with his 2 touchdowns to take home the Sly Crocs contest for Week 9. Moving on to the Week 9 Elite Fiat Frenzy, $100,000 to first place. Amazing lineup here. Justin Fields as the quarterback, 45 fantasy points. Joe Mixon as the previous lineup. But Devontae Adams, the superstar in this lineup. Jalen Waddle and Tyler Lockett closing out that contest for $100,000. $100,000 in the Eli Fiat Frenzy. Last but not least, I want you guys to know Rainmakers UFC is here. UFC 281. Rainmakers core and rare contests are available in the NFT games lobby. If you don't have a pack, go to the marketplace right now and get yours.
So the NBA is taking Tuesday off to encourage everybody here in the States to vote, which is important. Go do that. But the NHL is a different story. 11 games on the ice tonight on this slate. So Paul Bruno and Anna Dua are here to share with us players they are targeting. And of course, we're going to start at the dot center. Favorite DFS play at center is who and why, Anna?
I'm taking a look at Rupe Hintz from the Dallas Stars. I mean, he's on that lethal top line with J-Rob and Joe Pavelski. And Hintz, he's on a 5-game point streak right now, 9 points, 3 goals, 6 assists in the span. And he leads the entire NHL in 5-on-5 assists per 60 minutes this season with 3.01. And Hintz, he's got to be one of the, if not the most underrated players in the league right now.
Is that right? Paul, who you like at center? You sound like you're on mute because you don't sound like anything. Let's go to wing. Hey, Paul, while you figure that out, Anna, we're going to bring you back because I know I can hear you. So who's the best winger to slot into your lineups tonight, Anna? She cannot hear me either. All right, we'll be right back once we figure out these audio issues. Punch us right back up. Good stuff. Okay, Paul. You know what? We'll do it again so it's fresh for clipping. Anna, remind all of our wonderful viewers at home who you like at center tonight.
I can talk about him all day as many times as you want me to talk about him. It's Rupe Hintz from the Dallas Stars. He's on that top line for Dallas with J-Rob and Joe Pavelski.
We're going to toss the commercial break one more time because everything is broken. Try this again. Let's talk DFS, NHL. 11 games on the slate tonight. Hey, Anna, I wonder who you're going with at center.
This might be a real shocker right now, Emerson, but I'm going with Rupe Hintz from the Dallas Stars. He's just a phenomenal player right now, doing great at the moment. He's on the top line with Jason Robertson and Joe Pavelski on a 5-game point streak with 9 points, 3 goals, 6 assists in the span. Leads the entire NHL in 5-on-5 assists per 60 minutes with just over 3 and is probably one of the most underrated players in the whole league.
Paul, who's your guy?
You know what? There's some marquee matchups with Tampa and Edmonton, Vegas and Toronto featuring some of the top centers. I'm fading all of them, and instead I'm looking to the Buffalo game against Arizona. This is a mismatch, big time in my books. Tage Thompson is going to be the guy that I look at taking advantage of this matchup against the Coyotes. He's going to cost $7,500 against a club that doesn't have the tools to deal with this big man who has 12 points over his last 5 games played. The Coyotes look very vulnerable to the top guns of Buffalo overall after giving up an average of 5 goals per game in their last 5 starts.
All right, here we go. In-depth question. Who's the best winger to slot into your lineups tonight, Anna?
I mean, baseball's not looking too good for Philly right now, but I'm hoping hockey turns it around for the city. So I'm looking at Travis Konechny of the Philadelphia Flyers, largely because of the matchup. He's playing the St. Louis Blues, and the Blues are allowing the 5th most goals per game among all NHL teams right now. Konechny is a player I'm looking at largely on the power play. He leads the Flyers in power play points, has 6, and has 4 points on the man advantage in his past 5 games.
All right, Paul, how much money are you spending at the wing?
I'm going to spend a little bit because I'm looking at another forward who poses a matchup issue for his opponents, and again, fading the games that I noted earlier. So I'm looking at Brady Tkachuk of the Senators, costing $7,800 when he lines up against the Canucks. This is a team that's in turmoil right now. They're talking about major changes in and around this team. So I think they're very vulnerable. And for his part, Brady Tkachuk has much more size and skill than any of the Canuck forwards who are more apt to be covering him or opposing him on his regular shifts. And the guy's a real menace on the power play. Canucks, they're not even playing anything reasonable in terms of defensive hockey overall. So really, it looks like a good opportunity to stack Ottawa players this evening.
All right, Paul, when we talk blue line crew here, what is the play? You got 2 guys that'll cost you at least $8,000. Not quite sure how high you want to go on the salary board.
Well, I never go too high, Emerson, but I'm going to go back to that Ottawa game. I think I tipped that off. The Senators, I think, are going to run up a big score against this Vancouver club that's stumbled badly out of the gate. And one of the key guys that's going to be on the ice almost half the game, as he is most nights, is Thomas Chabot, always getting power play time, running that potent unit, and he's going to get all the high leverage offensive zone starts too. For all that, you get him for $6,300. I think it's a bargain. And if you want to save a little bit of money, Drew Doughty of the Kings costs only $4,900 for another good matchup against the Minnesota club that's also not playing very well defensively at the moment. Like Chabot, Doughty is far and away the Kings' best offensive threat on the back end, and he gets all their top power play and most of their offensive zone starts as well.
What move you making on the blue line, Anna?
I'm bringing it a little closer to home for me and taking a look at the Battle of New York. And I'm looking at Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders playing against the Rangers today. He's on their top power play unit, has 1 goal, 3 points in his past 3 games, has put up at least 2 shots in all 3 of those matchups. And you know, the Islanders always cause a little bit of trouble for the Rangers when they're playing at MSG. So I'm taking a look at him today.
Now, value play. Value play on a big slate. So we're really relying on you here, Anna.
This is probably one of my favorite value plays of the season so far. I'm looking at Miles Wood. He's at 3,100 against the Calgary Flames, and he's on a 4-game point streak, 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists in that span. He's actually tied with Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt, both of whom are having great seasons for the most goals on the New Jersey Devils right now with 5. He ranks 3rd in the NHL in 5-on-5 goals per 60 minutes this season. And I mean, the New Jersey Devils is a team. It doesn't matter that he's in a bottom 6 role. They're just rocking and rolling right now.
Would you mind sharing your value play with us, Paul?
You know what? You might want to clip and save this. Tell Samir to pay attention because I'm going to say something nice about a Montreal Canadian player. I look to players who fill out top units on their respective clubs for value plays, and one name that jumps out at me tonight in the sub 4,000 range is Montreal's Kirby Dach. The guy comes in at $3,900 after producing 7 points in his last 4 games played. He's going to get that regular shift alongside Suzuki and Caulfield tonight, and against Detroit, that's a pretty good situation. I also like the same game that Anna was tipping off earlier with the New York connection, but I'm going to go to the other side, and I say Alexei Lafreniere costs only $3,200 while lining up on the Rangers' 2nd unit and facing an Islanders team that's on the 2nd of back-to-backs, and they played a tough game last night. So for his part, Lafreniere looks to be taking a step in his development with a much better shots on goal rate early in his 3rd year in the league. That's a time where I've seen a lot of guys make the big step in their next big step in their progression, and I think Lafreniere should take advantage of this matchup this evening.
All right, I know it's early, but do you have a lane right now in terms of who you would want to roster in the crease, Anna?
I do. I love Montreal. Shout out to Montreal, but I'm going on the other end of the ice. I'm looking at Ville Husso of the Detroit Red Wings. It's impossible to choose a different goalie than him right now. He's 5-1-1 this season, only one loss, 9.41 save percentage, 3 consecutive wins, including 1 shutout. And across those last 3 games, he has a 9.80 save percentage. And if we remember back in St. Louis, he was one of the best home goalies in the NHL. The Montreal Canadiens visiting the Detroit Red Wings in Motor City tonight. I'm looking at Husso in the crease.
All right, Paul, who's your goalie right now?
2 games to key on tonight in that spot. See the high win probability for the Sabres at the moment, and it looks like Eric Comrie is going to be the starting goalie at $8,000. Craig Anderson has the same price tag, so please get back to RotoWire's starting grid later on in the day to find out for sure. But I think Anna is overlooking another guy that's on fire, and that's New Jersey Devils' Vitek Vanacek. He's on a real heater, having limited opponents to only 7 goals against over his last 5 games. He'll cost $7,900 against the Calgary Flames team that played another tough game last night. They'll be on the second of back-to-backs and going with their backup goalie tonight too.
Paul, Anna, good stuff. Thanks for rolling with us there through the technical difficulties. But coming up, we got one more block to go after our final break. Jason Sobel is here to share his best bets ahead of the Houston Open. Scotty Scheffler, the favorite on the DK Sportsbook. Where does he land on Jason's betting card after this? All right, welcome back to the Sweat, everybody. Let's talk some PGA Tour best bets right now with one of my faves, Action Networks, Jason Sobel, rocking the shirt that I made sure this incredible company put in the mail for you.
You did not say
yes,
this.
Yes, I did. I said my guy.
Did not stop
yes,
it.
I did. I said my guy needs more DK swag. Look how handsome he is. He'll be even more handsome if we put our brand on his beefy chest.
You had nothing to do with this. Don't take any credit whatsoever.
All right, now it's time for you to take credit for some of the bets you're about to dish out for the Houston Open. World number 2, Scotty Scheffler here, dude. He's the favorite on DK Sportsbook. We're looking at plus 550 right now. Finished with a flourish on Sunday at Mayakoba. Where does he land on your betting card?
Yeah, so look, final round 62 on Sunday at Mayakoba. He went back to his old putter that seems to be working, hadn't been working for him for a while. This should be a good golf course for him. Like everything about Scotty Scheffler except the number in Emerson, I really do think it would be a very interesting question. In fact, why not put it as a prop bet on the DK Sportsbook right now? You take Scheffler, Burns, Wise, and Finau. As you see, the top 4 on the board right now, and you say, you want those 4 or the field? I think it's a great question.
Wow.
I'm going to go with the field this week, and so I'm going to fade those guys at the top, but fading them with a little trepidation because I know how good they are, and I know that we've seen some big names win so far in the fall.
Yeah.
It hasn't been long shot season like we've been hoping for.
Well, part of the field there then is Russell Henley. So going back to back, plus 2,500 this week, his outright odds, a strokes gain machine right now, Jason. And now that he won for the first time in 5 years, you've got to think that his confidence is sky high. So what's a Henley bet that you would consider?
Yeah, so first of all, I look at Russell Henley, and this is in the business, we call this positive regression. I've said about Henley over the past 18 to 24 months that his results haven't really lived up to his performance. It's almost like a Major League Baseball pitcher, Emerson, going 6-11 with a 2.89 ERA, and you go, He's actually pitching well. He's just not getting the W's out of it. Finally, Russell Henley gets that W. The performance has now equaled the result. As far as moving forward, I know some people will be doing the research, say, Russell Henley won here 5 years ago. I think I like him again. Remember, he won at Golf Club of Houston, not the current host site, Memorial Park Municipal Golf Course.
Yeah.
And so, like him, I think at some point, if you've won the week before, you run out of a little steam by the weekend. We saw that with Seamus Power last week, just a little bit. I'd go a top 20 for Russell Henley, but I wouldn't get too more adventurous than that.
So, Jay, this is the second year it's been at this course, right? Okay, so he was T7 here last year, and he's also one of the best on tour, right? In par 3 scoring, and I believe this one you got 5 short holes out there. You got 5 par 3s on this one, don't you?
You do. You have 5 par 3s, but they're not that short. 3 of them longer than 200 yards.
Oh,
and
damn.
so I don't necessarily look at that and say there's any advantage. If you look at the best players in par 3 scoring, they average about 2.97. The field average, the average on the PGA Tour is about 3.07.
Oh, that's
so if you want to look at this and say there's one more par 3, I'm going to take the guys who traditionally play the par 3 holes really well. You're only giving yourself 0.1 of a stroke average per hole. That's just not enough for me to really care that much.
Yep. See, that's why I bring it up, because you know a lot more about this stuff than I do. Tony Finau up to plus 1,600 to win outright on DK Sportsbook. Didn't make the weekend in Mayakoba, though, Jay. How about plus 2,500, first round leader? Or is there a first round leader bet that you like?
Like Tony this week, this should be a golf course that suits his game more so than last week. Last week, look, that was almost like a rehab start. Not that he was hurt, but spring training, if you will. He hadn't played since the President's Cup, hadn't played an individual tournament since the Tour Championship. So it had been a long off period for Tony. I expect him to play better this week. If I'm looking, though, at a first-round leader, I want to go a little bit further down the board. I am targeting players this week, not only first round, but overall, who drive the ball really well. Not just guys who drive it a long way, not just guys who drive it straight, but I'm looking at strokes gained off the tee. I'm looking at total driving. I'm looking at guys who can mash it out there and hit it long and straight. And so one of the guys on that list, a guy who his 2 best clubs in the bag are a driver and a putter, is Wyndham Clark. In 29 individual starts last season, he broke 70 on 16 different occasions. That's pretty nice. Last year, a 66 on this very golf course on Thursday, just one off the first-round lead. Wyndham Clark, and I believe 70-1 right now, feels like a really nice play to me, Emerson.
Okay, so favorite bet overall for the Houston Open on the DraftKings Sportsbook is what? This isn't your favorite outright winner. This is just, maybe a favorite bet overall outside of that.
Again, sticking with the theme this week and the guys who fit the profile, Sepp Straka is undervalued in the marketplace. We've seen Straka post a win and 2 runner-up finishes in the last 8 months alone. This guy's really good. I feel like your odds makers over there didn't quite catch on to that. I'll go with Straka for a top 10 this week. And then another guy who has been on the radar of some of the experts across the industry over the first few weeks of his rookie season, but he's a DP World Tour veteran, a South African big hitter who's been around for a while, Dean Burmester. Again, I'll play it a little bit cautious with the top 20, but I don't mind sprinkling outrights on either of those guys, both really good drivers of the golf ball.
All right, last one here. And speaking of outright, your favorite pick to win outright on the DK Sportsbook for the Houston Open. Hook me up.
Once again, Emerson, sticking with my theme, there are 7 players who ranked in the top 20 both last season in strokes gained off the tee and are in the top 20 already this season. 4 of them are absolute superstars. Rory, John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay, Matt Fitzpatrick, Keith Mitchell. He's been up there both years. I like Keith Mitchell a lot, but I'm going to go with Taylor Pendrith. We saw what he could do at the President's Cup. This guy absolutely annihilates the ball off the tee. Got hurt last year, had a rib injury, missed 4 months. When he came back better than ever. 5 finishes of 13th or better in his last 6 starts of last season. I expect him to be stepping on the gas pedal this week. I like Pendrith a lot. We saw a Canadian winner just a few weeks ago in Mackenzie Hughes. Gonna have a second one this week.
All right, we like you a lot too, Jay. You look good in that shirt, buddy. Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, thanks for sending this. You didn't.
Yeah, it's true. Shh, quiet. All right, we'll see you. We'll see you next week, dude. Everybody that is a show, thanks for hanging with us. Appreciate it. We're back here. Actually, no, we're going to be in my living room for an at-home edition of The Sweat tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So I'll see you then. So will my dogs.